Hey, how's everybody doing? It is the Chase Carter Concept Podcast for Thursday, November 19th. I'll be switching the Chase Carter Podcast. It used to come out on Tuesdays. Now it's going to come out on Thursdays. I do a podcast with my friend Raymond called Video Games and Nonsense. It's an audio format and also in video format on YouTube. We record Monday and then I put it out on Tuesday. So I don't want to have two shows going on Tuesday. So, hold on, I got a phone call. Hello?
Thank you for choosing Marriott Hotels.
I always get this. This is why I wanted to answer.
Number was qualified by our booking system to receive an all-inclusive complimentary.
They've been calling me for the past 2 years. I was hoping, and they always call from different numbers. I was hoping that was Marriott Hotel. This is from Marriott Hotels. You've been selected as a special group. Do you want our little our membership card? No, I don't. I don't even remember the last time I stayed at a Marriott Hotel. And they're still calling. I can't even breathe. But yeah, so this show will be coming out on Thursdays now. To the 5 people who listen to this on a weekly basis, I appreciate you. I appreciate every single one of you. And like I said, it's probably my mother listening to the show 5 times. But I'll take the 5 views. I'll take it. I'm not going to apologize for having supportive parents, okay? People with no parents. You're so lucky to have a shut up. You should be thankful you have parents. Then you have parents and then you can't stand them. It's like whatever you have, you can't stand. Like you love your mom and your dad, but if you lived with them, you'd want to kill them. You'd be rooting for COVID. I probably shouldn't say that. That's too dark. It's too dark. But no, so what have I been up to? It is pretty sure I said it. Thursday, November 19th. Been doing pretty good. Can't complain too much. My girlfriend still going good. I got a few little incidences that happened I want to kick off the podcast with. They're not serious. They're not serious. Haven't yelled at her, by the way. Have not video game yelled at my girlfriend yet. I believe I talked about this last week, but she was being attacked in Sea of Thieves. And instead of, she was being, I'll just tell the story. So what? I repeat myself. So what? We're sailing along in Sea of Thieves. Another ship comes on our port side, which to you idiots out there, that's the left side. We're not idiots. We just weren't in the Navy. It's a quick Google search. They're coming on the left side. They bump into us. They crash into us. And they're shooting down at Corey. They have their flintlock pistols out and they're shooting at Corey. Corey gets hit a few times. And how you heal yourself in the game is you bring out fruit. Food heals you. So she stands perfectly still while people are shooting her and starts eating fruit. And I'm like, what are you doing? Move around while you're like, I can't do 2 things at once. I can't. I can't. Well, she's been fighting like computer characters the whole time. And her thing is to kill the computer characters and then eat your food. But these aren't computer characters. They're human beings actually playing and trying to kill you. So they're not going to do the same things as the NPCs are, the computer characters. So it was just funny seeing her in a different environment, reacting to something that she's not used to and just kind of not knowing what to do. And I'm like, no wonder why you die every single time you encounter somebody. Because as soon as they hit you, you stop. You're dead still. Like I never watched her interact with anybody. It was always, I was kind of off, getting killed pretty much because I suck too. But we're like most of the time we're separated trying to do 2 different things, which is probably a tactical mistake now that I'm thinking about it. But there is one time she killed somebody and we were both genuinely shocked and surprised just to hear it in her voice saying, "Oh, I killed somebody," like it was an accident. I'm like, no, you meant to. You meant to kill him, and good for you. Good for you. Um, yeah, we tried to play Destiny last night, and I forgot I didn't install it on my new Xbox. Um, I'm the thing I really like about it is how quickly you can get into the games, how quickly everything starts up. Um, it's just a a difference. I don't know how you would say it. It's like a quality of life improvement as far as video games go. But yeah, the thing standing still, like what's easier to shoot? A stationary target or a moving target? She's like, I don't know what to do. I was like, well, then go down below deck where you're like hide and then eat and get your health back up and then come back up, up top on the top deck. And she goes, well, you would have yelled at me for leaving. I'm like, no, I'm not yelling at you. I'm just saying, what are you doing? She survived. Everything was fine. But that was a funny thing. I think I talked about that last week. I'm not too sure. This is real life stuff. Our little bottle of dish soap ran out, right? And then so the next day it was coming close, and then we put water in it, like normal Americans, to try to get the last little bit out. And then the next day I see when she woke up in the morning, she threw it away in the garbage. And I'm just thinking like, and then the big bottle, the big Costco size bottle that's under the sink that she bought a few weeks ago is sitting where the little tiny bottle is. And I'm thinking out loud in my head, not out loud. I'm just thinking, I guess, if I can describe how I'm feeling. I'm just thinking, why didn't she fill up the little bottle? You pour the big bottle liquid into the little bottle. You use the little bottle because I don't want to have to lift up a gallon of dish soap to pour a drop onto this, the sponge I'm using. And she says, well, the small bottle of soap has bacteria in it. I'm like, it's a bottle full of soap. You can say maybe like the tip has like grime or bacteria. Well, then just wash it with soap, right? Because that's what we wash our dishes with. And she like looks at it like, oh, I don't know if. So I went in the garbage. I got it. I cleaned it with the dish soap, the big bottle dish soap, and I put it there. Then 2 days later, she goes, yeah, that was a good idea. That was a good idea to replace. I'm like, yeah, why are you replacing a container that contains soap and because for the reason that it's dirty? Then clean it with the stuff in the one you replaced it with. It's just she doesn't reuse things because of what was it? I wanted to pour. Oh, there's another thing I'm just thinking of. She wanted to pour. Oh yeah, our cooking oil. We bought like we had 2 things of cooking oil, and one was enough where you can pour it in the new bottle, and we can get rid of the old bottle. Because for some reason, I think I was the stupid one and opened up a second cooking oil bottle. And she's like, well, no, the bacteria is in the small one. I'm like, what bacteria? Like just bacteria that we all ingest on a daily basis. It's not going to matter. Are you trying to get rid of all of our bacteria? And then our body won't know how to process bacteria, and then we're screwed. There's farmers out there that I read that drink water out of the trough to keep all that bacteria in his gut. So he's fine. He's like, I haven't been sick in 5 years. Is that true? Or is that a crazy hillbilly? I don't know, but it sounds legitimate. And a side of my family came from Arkansas. So I believe all that stuff. It's real. It's real. And all the doctors are full of shit. They don't know what they're talking about. And what is it? Here's another thing. I noticed living with my girlfriend for a little while now, knowing her for a little bit of time. She has projects. And I don't know if this is just women in general or her. Because I haven't really spent too much time paying attention to women because overall they've annoyed me. No, just kidding. Overall, they just spout out nonsense. No, she has to have like projects in her head. She has to have little decorative projects. She put up these lights. It's not Chris. This is like a few months ago. She put up these string of lights. So our inside our house looks like a gypsy's seance area. Um, she had a mirror, this long rectangular mirror. She wanted to put that up on the wall for some reason. And you can see only your face in it. So it's not going to be useful. She just saw an empty space on the wall and wanted to fill it up. And then we have this big mirror, like right before she goes out the door. It's behind, like if you open up the door, it's behind the door. So before she leaves in the morning, she can check herself out. And then she wanted to use it to work out. And I said, well, why don't you move it to a different area so you can use it to work out and also check yourself out. Make sure you look okay before you go to work, because you don't want to go to work looking like a hot mess. That makes sense, right? So she moves it. She can use it for workouts because she likes to work out indoors, because it's cold outside in San Diego, because it's, 68 degrees and she's a little chilly outside. And so then the place where the mirror used to be, there's an empty wall space there. And she goes, well, we got to get pictures. We got to get something to fill that up. It looks blank there. Leave the empty space alone. Stop cluttering everything. And then I started to notice every little section of wall has like a picture or a little something to it around this place. There's no real empty walls. The walls have something. And I'm not saying you have bare walls. Have a mirror or two here or there. That's fine. Have a little designer thing. But what is it with women and little knickknacks? Now, my mother is like this. She has to have, if there's a shelf, if there's a wall, something's going on it. It's going to get filled up. Now, if even like this, the like sinks in the bathroom, they have, instead of just the soap dispenser, there's like a rubber frog or a rubber duck, or if it's Serbian Christmas, there'll be, a themed thing there. And there's always 4 or 5 things. Granted, you knock the thing off, like you're trying to get to the dish soap. You have to move everything else to get to the thing that you actually use on a daily basis. And it's not, and I come from that quote unquote traumatized experience. I went over to my girlfriend's sister's house, and she was apologizing for the mess. She was like, it's like, oh, I know it's cluttered and this is a mess. And she was like, and Corey's sister kept referring to, well, I know what and she was like making racial jokes, like, oh, you're white. This is where, you come from probably a nicer place or whatever. Like I know this is not the kind of environment that you're used to. It's cluttered. And I'm all, you have no idea where I grew up. You have no idea. I lived in a double wide trailer, lived in hotels and motels in my high school and middle school. This is nice. Like you have a 2-story house, a huge 2-story house that most of the ceiling that I couldn't touch the ceiling. And most of the houses I grew up in, I can reach up and touch. I can get on a chair and touch the ceiling. I'd have to get an 80-foot ladder to reach this lady's, I can't remember what the ceilings are called. Like infinity, I can't remember. I know infinity pools, but that's how, I don't know, backyard redneck I am. I don't even know the proper terms for these things. But what is it about an empty space and people need to fill it? Do women, I guess men could be like this too. They're more, pat rack. They can be a pat rack too. But I would say it's more women in general. Do they have like emotional attachments to things? And I have emotional attachments to things as well. But it's to less things. It's like a very few things mean a lot to me. Like the door is broken. This is something silly. The door is in my girlfriend's, my girlfriend's room. Like it's not my room. In our room, the door is broken and we can't shut latch. And we have cats, and the cats will kind of open the door. They don't listen because they're cats. And so we have this small little like hand cloth rag that we double up, and then we close that in the door, and that keeps the door closed. And it also saves on sound. So if we're going in and out of the door, we don't wake each other up with like a loud, like the doorknob kind of thing. It kind of actually works. And part of me doesn't want, we tried to fix the door, but I would have to drill into the door a little bit further to put the piece in. And we don't have any tools for that. And then part of our thinking is, why are we going to spend, I think the tool costs like $50-$60. Why are we going to spend that much? So we're trying to find a friend that has it, but we don't have a lot of friends who are woodworkers. There we go. So I like the rag thing. So Corey fixed the rag thing. She put Velcro, the washcloth was on a little hook, but then the hook fell off. The hook was stuck there with like a sticky adhesive, and so that fell off. So we couldn't use the rag anymore. We didn't have any sticky things. So I didn't want to drill a hole in the door, and so she put sticky Velcro on one side. It takes care of the problem, but it's also loud. So now we have a new issue. And then so she looked at the rag. Speaking of the whole reason I told this story, that rag, she was like, okay, so we can throw this rag away, and it's kind of dirty. And I was like, no, that rag means something. That's like symbolizes, and it's a really, really, really small object. I'm like, keep that, because one day we're gonna like keep it in a drawer or somewhere. We're gonna come across and find that rag and be like, oh, remember, and that's gonna be a cool moment. If it's small or whatever, things that actually mean something, instead of, a little knickknack turtle that you put in between the sink and the toilet that doesn't mean anything. Keep the things that have little cool stories that you'll remember. It's like, oh yeah, I remember, that's cool. And then, but it doesn't make, I don't know. The empty wall, empty shelf fiasco kind of baffles me. Makes me think. Makes me think of like, why are most women like this? They have to have projects. They have to have little things. Well, I want this. I want to, my girlfriend, she had compost. She didn't always collect compost, but she started doing it. And then she was like, well, I'm going to do it for my sister's garden. My sister wants to start a garden. And 90% of gardens that women want to start, you never really heard a man. This is not something you hear a man say. Oh, I just want to grow tomatoes, so I have tomatoes. You don't hear a guy say that. It's always women who are bored for 30 minutes for a day, and then they want to start a business or a project that's going to take them all day. Do you know who grows tomatoes? Farmers. That's their whole life. So technically, you're taking someone's job away. Good job. Well done. What the farmers are going to be like, what the fuck? Why is nobody buying my tomatoes? I'm going to lose my entire ranch. Oh, because everyone decided to grow their own tomatoes. It's selfish, women. Selfish. But so I don't understand. I just don't understand. Oh, my friend Raymond just sent me a Cyberpunk video game news article. Not going to look at it right now. He's always complaining. He's always, oh no, Cyberpunk. It's not coming out. It's not. They're going to lie to us again. Stop sucking off this game. We'll talk about that later. But yeah, but it's just real interesting to see her start these little projects and then obviously not finish them. So when she started to collect the compost, first of all, this stuff smells like compost. It smells like shit. It smells like actual shit. She kept it out in this little container, and then when she would take it over to her sister's house, she would do most of the work for her. And I'm like, is your sister actually helping you, or are you doing most of the work? And then she told me, well, mostly it's my garden. She's not really doing it. So her sister kind of forgot about the garden. She stopped wanting to collect the compost, but we had a whole bucket, like a paint bucket, not a paint bucket, even bigger, I don't know what you would call it. It's a big old orange container. It's about four or five probably like paint canisters big, I guess you can say. Um, I don't know how to describe that bucket. It's kind of weird that I can't describe it. I don't know what else would go in it. Like the stuff that comes on, like when you do drywall, the plaster. I would say that those are the buckets that come in. Apparently, some gaming journalists were playing the game and they had this to say about it. Shaking my head. I don't think this is going to end well for CD Project Red if they're saying what about it is true. Oh, Jesus Christ. Shut up, Raymond. Shut up. If you're one of the 5 people that listen to this, shut your mouth. So anyway, back to my girlfriend. Back to so we have this bucket full of compost she wants to get rid of, and then like the next day or two it rains a little bit, so then all that shit gets filled up with water. And it's just a slushy shit. And then so that's her project, right? That's her thing. And then she comes to me one day, all cute, lovey-dovey, all, hey, you want to help me with something? And I already know something's up. Usually when she's always nice to me, but there's a certain tone in her voice that she wants me to take her car in to get an oil change. And I have no problem with that. But the reason she doesn't want to do it is because she doesn't like sitting around waiting for things, which is fine. But I'm like, you just don't want it. Same thing with dishes. She's probably one of the hardest working lazy people, one of the lazy, hardworking people. I don't know how to word that I've ever met. And I guess everybody is that, but it's just so funny how some of it, I guess it's really everything. Like if I had to, like, I don't mind working out for an hour or two a day. That's not, or going for a run or something like that and getting my heart rate up, feeling like I want to die. I have no problem doing that. But if I have to make a phone call to schedule an appointment, I dread that for some reason. Or if I have to be around people at a grocery store, like a lot of people, I can't. I don't want to do that. If I'm walking up and down an aisle looking for tomato sauce, I want to run out of there. You have this overall feeling of dread. I can't do it. So that, and I understand that, which is why I'm like, I'll go change your oil. It's not a big deal. But I want you to understand that you should technically be doing this too. Like we're all working on our flaws or whatever. And then speaking of flaws, she won't play. I want to get to this. She won't play scary video games. I tried to get her to play because Dead Space 3 is co-op. So I'm trying to find all these co-op games. It's co-op. So, but granted, the co-op option might not be, the servers might be off. So it doesn't even matter now that I think about it. So I wanted her to play the first Dead Space, first one, classic game. It's a really good game. And so I wanted her to play it. And the first little jump scare, she's going down a dark little, corridor or whatever, and then this creature runs by and she's like, no, I can't do it. I can't. My heart palpitations, I get all worked up the rest of the night, and I can't. I'm like, it's a video game. Are you getting scared? It's an act. It's not real. And then I told her, I was like, if you played like a witchy scary game where this witch is going after, like people or kid, you're fine. But she doesn't connect witches and death and scariness. And then I don't know. I don't know how to describe her as a human being, just in general. But it's very interesting. It's very interesting, these things. And then she won't play Gears of War because you don't jump in the game. I'm like, what does jumping have to do with the fun in the game? You can roll, but like if you're fighting in combat, you're not going to be bouncing around like a fucking rabbit. Boing, 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 boing. You're not doing that. You're going to be stationary on the ground, and you're going to use cover, and you're going to strategically, take out your enemies or whatever. So it's just a weird concept. So it's a weird, I don't know, video game issue that she can't seem to get over. The scariness thing, I tried to have her play Resident Evil, and she kind of was into it. And then we're going to have to start that back up. But she kind of liked the getting the object stuff and playing together, and we'd switch off controls and stuff like that. That's why I'm thinking it's a sit down and play together game instead of like her by herself. I'm trying to see what game she won't play any games by herself. She only plays video games with me. So I'm guessing either one, she likes me way too much, um, but she just likes experiencing things with. Because I'm the exact opposite. I would rather sit down and play or watch a movie or like a single player game by myself. Like the co-op games are fun, but like for me, it's only in like small doses. Um, it's just interesting how your personality type dictates how you the entertainment. Like I'll go to a movie theater by myself and watch a movie if I want to see. I don't have to drag along a friend, or if I want to go out to eat at a restaurant. I when I was single, I used to go out. Of course, there was the ulterior motive. I used to go to Applebee's and Red Robin by myself on like Friday and Saturday night and just have dinner. Not drink. I never drank. But I would just sit there and like, look, I'm gonna go out, watch a sports game, hang out, whatever, and then also the cute hostesses and waitresses notices you there consistently. You're not eating with anybody. You're single, and if they're single, they get a little more flirtatious. They get a little more accepted. So yeah, but you can't like go there one time. You have to be a regular and then go. So either but see, if you go there a lot and you're single, they either think of you as a loser, or depending on your personality type, I guess you can say, and the conversations you have with them. But that used to be my move. I used to just hang around the restaurant a little bit for an hour or two watching the game. Well, 2.5 hours if you're watching a basketball game. The move worked, and you don't have to like put yourself out there too much. It's kind of like you're reserved, and if they're being nicer to you, but they're nicer to you. See, guys take that a little too far, because if a woman who's a waitress or a bartender is nice to you, they think, oh, they're hitting on me. Do they like me? It's like, no, they're being nice because they're in the customer service business and they're working for tips. So you have to read between the lines. Yeah, they're very complicated. This overall podcast is about how complicated women are, but human beings are complicated in general. So, and then another project. We have these kitchen cabinets, and there's these shelves instead of cabinets. They're just shelves, and those are for our quick access items, our spices that we use every day when we cook. And by spices, I mean pepper and this lemon pepper stuff and salt and like these little chili flakes that we use so we can get to it quicker. And then there's all these other spices that we've never used that are sitting up there for some reason that I think we need to get rid of or sell off. But there's thyme, or thyme. I never imagined using it's so. But anyways, there's like protein powder. There's vitamins. There's little like stuff you can put in to mix with your drink, like your water or something, to make your water more flavorful. And at the very top, there's toilet paper for emergencies. But it's very interesting that, and then so she wanted, and then so all this stuff is quickly accessible, right? You can get to it whenever you want, real quick. You don't have to open a cabinet door. She wants to put curtains over all that stuff. And I'm like, why do we need curtains over the quick access items? They won't be quick access items anymore. It doesn't matter. It's not like we entertain often, all the time. Hardly ever. And I like it that way. Less people over here, better for me. I don't want to have people over. Then you got to clean up after them. We got a small kitchen. It's not a big area to entertain people. Have maybe 1 or 2 people over max. My friend Ray was over here the other day. Whole place felt a little full. Got a little overwhelmed. And Corey's high energy, my girlfriend, and Ray's very high energy. I'm more of a medium to low energy person. And I was like, after he left, it was good to see him. I needed a little break from just everybody for like a day. I was like, I can't. And he was only over here for a day. I couldn't believe it. Like just that natural instinct of like, hey, it's too much. It's too much. Or maybe it was just different. I don't know. I'm not used to having a man in the house. I don't know. You learn a lot about yourself as you get older. But yeah. Oh, so anyway, the compost. I'm going back to the compost. The compost is sitting out there, sludge. She was all being nice and cute to get me to do something. I'm like, look, just ask me if you. Hey, I need your help with this. Cool. But she does it in a little cute way, and then I, of course, make fun of her about it. And so I have to go out there. I have to put 2 bags, two trash bags around the bucket. Tip the bucket over. It smells like fresh baby shit. It is disgusting. It was. I usually don't gag. Gagged a few times. Didn't almost throw up. It wasn't too bad, but it was like I had to take little quick breaths. I had to, So I put all that in the trash bag, right, and then I had to throw it away in the dumpster. And in the dumpster was empty, so I had to put it on the bottom. So all the weight is going to go onto that bag and probably break it. I'm guessing. So it's going to be sitting in there a week. So I've gone out to the dumpster, and it hasn't smelt different, which is good, which lets me know that the garbage always smells like absolute shit, regardless of the things inside of it. It's just an overall smell in general. But just ask me to do it. Just say, hey, the compost I need help with. I was like, oh, that's your project. That's your doing. You should do most of the work. It's your idea. Since her sister's not doing the compost anymore, which I predicted from the start. And so I don't know. And then she left. Listen to this story. Listen to this. This is all within the last 2 weeks. She left cat vomit on the floor in the living room, and she just put 1 paper towel over it. Just 1. Her excuse was, well, I didn't see it until I was leaving, and then there was no time to clean it up. Well, then leave me a note explaining that. I wake up and I just see a paper towel just soaked with vomit, and I'm like, well, I can't leave that there. So the first thing I do in the morning is clean up her cat's vomit off the floor. Leave me a little note. Sorry, didn't have time to clean this up. Could you do it for me? Thanks. Maybe a little draw a little kiss emoji, little lips or whatever. Please, little heart. Green onions, chives, if they have any. But sorry, I just read. She leaves a note when she wants food. Just noticed this little note on the kitchen table. She's like, well, spinach and mushrooms if you go to Target. XOX. So what's wrong with that? Green onions, chives if they have any. I don't like green onions or / chives, so they won't have any. But yeah, this is just all girlfriend stories. This is my girlfriend story podcast. She had, what was it? She's afraid of ants, the little tiny creatures that won't hurt anybody. She's terrified of those. And then she's also afraid of cockroaches. Now, cockroaches gross people out. I understand, they're a little icky or whatever, but they're pretty much harmless. There was a huge damn cockroach in the bathroom the other day, and it was sitting on her lotion bottle. And her lotion bottle's a little bit above my head or whatever. It's on the top shelf. And so I get up late night to use the toilet, to use the lavatory in the laboratory. Her lotion bottle's up there, and I look up, and there's this big cockroach about a foot in front of my face. I was like, shit, and it kind of startled me. It was right after I peed, so there wasn't a mess. I mean, besides the mess I normally make peeing. And I know she's terrified. I know if she sees this, she's going to throw the lotion bottle out. She's going to clean it. She's, going to freak out. So I take a picture, right? And I dispose of the cockroach. I was going to try to let it live. And then I thought, well, it could breed more, whatever. But is killing one cockroach really going to kill the whole colony? No. Is this like the queen cockroach that's holding all the babies and the eggs? No. I tried to put it down the drain, down the, because I put it in the bathtub to corral it. right? I didn't want it scurrying off in a corner or back into a wall. So I picked up the lotion bottle and then I put the lotion bottle in the tub. It scurried around. I tried to put it down the drain. Maybe it can survive down there. Somehow swim through the pipes, whatever. Live, have a happy cockroach life. I thought about that for like a minute or two. Then I'm like, you know what? Fuck this cockroach. He's not going down the drain. I'm not playing these games today. So I got some Raid, gave him a little spray, a little tss. He started freaking out. The walls he couldn't climb. It was like steroids for a little bit for the cockroach. He was trying to climb these walls, couldn't do it. I sprayed him with Raid. This thing shot up one of the bathroom walls. So all of a sudden, gravity didn't matter to this thing. It shot up and it hid behind one of her body washes, one of her many body wash bottles. And so then I just pressed the body wash bottle up against the wall a little bit more, and you heard this, and then it was gone. So then, and it didn't like explode or anything. Moved it, picked him up, threw him in the garbage can. Now I wasn't going to tell her about this. I was not going to ruin her day, her morning, what have you. But the next morning, that's when she left to throw up on the floor. And I was jokingly, highly offended that she would do that. I saw the humor in it. It's kind of funny. So I decided to ruin her day. I sent her the picture of the cockroach on her lotion. And I said, this happens all the time. This happens on an almost daily basis. I just never told you about it. This is payback for leaving cat throw up on the floor. Hopefully she learns her lesson to not do that anymore. I think the cat's actually meowing right now. Outside. Let me see. I think the cat goes next door, goes to one of our neighbors and gets attention, pets, gets massages and gets food over there, I'm thinking. Because there's another couple that lives an apartment over, and they seem like nice people. I've seen them like, oh, sweetie, oh, to Unya. And then Salem, the black cat, doesn't want to have anything to do with anybody. That's what's funny is when Raymond came over to hang out last weekend, the black cat never would like anybody new, well, anybody at all. Like really, this cat would survive out in the wild because it doesn't trust anything. It doesn't get close to hardly anybody. Because that's what Corey said about me when I started coming over here. She's like, well, the cat's not going to like you. The cat was a little nervous about me for like half a day. And then it kind of warmed up to me. And she was real surprised about that. She's like, he doesn't usually like anybody. And so I'm just the cat person, man. My energies are very, but when Ray came over, this cat flipped out, was not going anywhere near the apartment. Always, even like to give him food. He was very like, so we had to feed him outside. And then for the next 2 days, the cat was still anytime he came in the house, he was like checking the corners, looking around, real skittish. Like, where's that Raymond guy? Now, maybe he just met Ray and surmised the situation like we all do. I don't want to be around this person. I have to get out of here as quickly as possible. There is that. That could have been one of the issues. Maybe the cat's smarter than I thought it was. I'm not too sure. And the cat's outside meowing, but I'm not going to let her in. I'm sick and tired of it. So that's about 40. Fine, I'll come get you. Hold on a second. Let you in. Don't want you to get upset now. Okay, back. So the next 20 minutes of the podcast are going to be a little bit about I've been playing a lot of video games. Even though I have my own video game podcast, I'm still going to talk about video games here. Just a little bit. I'm going to try to, for this podcast, have the majority of it be about like my life or just stories that don't involve video games. But the last part of it, I'll have video games. I like video games. I like talking about video games. I got my Xbox Series X. Obviously, I'm really enjoying it. Played a lot more Assassin's Creed. I want to talk about my likes and dislikes of it so far. So I wrote down my likes. The game is so smooth on the new Xbox, as it should be. I think that's like the whole next gen feel is stuff that isn't at 30 frames a second. That's at minimum 60, and it seems like such a little small thing that doesn't small change that doesn't matter. But the upgrade to 60 frames on just normal games, I think, is a huge step. It's from standard def, I think, to high definition. Like everything just pops more. It feels more realistic. I play Sea of Thieves with Corey, my girlfriend, and she plays on the old Xbox on a normal monitor, and I play on a 4K monitor with my new Xbox. And I showed her the difference, and she was like, "This looks like a different game just by that stance." She's like, the water looks better, the smoother. Of course, like the colors are more detailed in my monitor because it's 4K and HDR or whatever, but it just has more detail to it, and it just runs. And I think most of that has to do with the 60 frames a second, just a smoother overall experience, and then the different, like, I guess the deeper blacks. There's more blacks, and then so like the when you're in shadows or you see like a darker area, it's more detailed on that monitor than it is on her monitor, because like the shadow, I guess, is just one specific color instead of different shades of black. I think that's what the huge difference is between all that stuff. So I wear these headphones, and multiple times in the headphones, I don't know if this has anything to do. This has to do with like the game and the developing. But there's multiple. There's like a dice game. So you go to a village, and there's people who played this Assassin's Creed dice game or whatever. So you play this dice game. You can wager money on it. And then the sound effects, like in the village, the stuff that's going on around you, because you zoomed into this dice game, but things are still moving around you. The village is still going on about its day. You start to hear things, and I could have swore it was people outside my own house, like having a conversation. So there's multiple times where I'm like, "Is that real?" And I take my headphones off to listen. I'm like, "Oh, that's in the game." Okay, so I like that. I like that part. And then the dice game in Valhalla is really fun. And I didn't understand it. I'm gonna, if I tried to explain it, it'd be difficult to do. But it's not a dice game with, it's not a normal dice game with, the dice don't have like a dot for one, two dots for two. It has shields, swords, bows, and arrows. And so there's like you roll something. There's like 3 different rounds. I'm going to do a terrible job summing it up. You roll, I think it's 6 die. How many dice is it? 6 or 7. And then you get to keep, it's kind of like Yahtzee. You get to keep the dice you want, the special dice. And then, so if you want to attack, and like each person starts out with, I want to say, was it 4, 12, 6? They have a certain number of rocks. I guess you could say I'm doing a terrible job. This is going to be fun. So the whole point of the game is to take your opponent's rocks. Like they have these little pebbles. And so that's basically like your life, and you're trying to attack, and you use the dice, what you roll, the sword and bows take the rocks, they, break them, and then you can either steal them, but then there's also, you can roll this hand image, and the hand takes like this god, that this other like square token. It's a terrible way of explaining it, but you're trying to get rid of the other people's rocks. And the simple thing is you roll the helmet. Yeah, helmet. A helmet and a shield protects against. I think the helmet protects against the sword or the bow, and then the shield protects against one of them. I can't remember which one's which. But it's a fun overall game, and I understood like 70% of the game, and then there's other part of the game where each dice that you roll has this gold glittery outline, and you want to keep those because those give you this, like, these god tokens that you could turn in to your, you have another little piece, your your god ability, and then your gods have your own ability. So your god can have like protect your so many rocks or whatever, or give you rocks back, or attack the other person's rocks, like say 8. They'll go over, and that's at the end of the turn. It's a fun little game. You can kind of get into it. I always thought that these games should have their own apps, like The Witcher and that Gwent thing. They have their own game, but they need to have an app for it. And that app could connect to, say, your actual Xbox game or your PlayStation game. And then so the money you earn in your app will go towards your character in the game. Always, and then you can also play against other actual people, so you can take money off of other real people playing the Witcher game. So it turns the Witcher into a single player RPG, and then that game, it can turn it into, this all could be actually be happening on The Witcher. I just have never played the separate game. Let's see here. The snow, the snow in the pole. Okay, the snow is awesome. The snow from Assassin's Creed 3 is back, and it's back, baby. Really good snow effects. I like it. When you dredge through the snow, it gets flattened. There's a cool part where I was fighting these 2 polar bears, and you dodge, you roll. I'm like moving around a lot, trying obviously not to die by these 2 giant polar bears. And by the time, it was like a 5 or 10 minute battle, and probably 5 minutes. 10 minutes is a little excessive. 5-minute battle, and by the time I killed the 2 bears, they were laying there, and I looked around this little flat snowy area, this opening or whatever, this patch of land I was on, and you could see where the battle took place. Kind of, there were some areas where it was flat, and that's where most of the battle happened, and then there was like parts where I kind of ran away a little bit, and then you can see all the, like, the history of the battle. So if hypothetically, if someone were to come here and see that, it'd be like, oh, I kind of can tell what happened in the battle because of how, where the snow was and all that other stuff. I thought it'd be cool if I haven't seen this though, but I was thinking that you're hunting in the game, and you would have to track down, like, the animals would leave realistic paths through the snow, and you would have to follow those paths to find these animals. I haven't seen that yet, but that's just something that I was like, that would be a cool little but not have it be pre-made paths that the developers went in and created. You would have, like, the animal that you're tracking would randomly go through wherever it decided to go, and then you would have to find the tracks and hunt them down. But maybe that's not how the snow system works. Maybe if you make a track and then come back, a few hours later, the track's gone, obviously because of snowfall. So maybe that wouldn't work. Maybe I'm an idiot. The fighting system I like because it feels heavier. It feels very brash, very Viking-like, at least the stereotypical Viking, I guess. You have a stamina bar now, and if you miss your swing, it's going to cost more energy on that stamina bar. I like that. If you have a successful hit, you gain stamina back. So it's not very realistic, but it encourages you to fight like a Viking, to go on the offensive, to always attack, not worry too much about hiding behind your shield and doing all that stuff. It's interesting. And then I like the food. The health isn't based off of, in Odyssey, it was based off of your adrenaline meter. So if you wanted to heal yourself, you would use like your adrenaline meter consisted of, I want to say, like eight little pieces, 8 little segments. So if you wanted to heal yourself and you had your adrenaline meter filled up, it would just take away one section of that. But that doesn't make any sense. You're using your adrenaline to heal yourself. It was like this magical ability that didn't make sense in a game that's kind of based off of realism. So in this game, you collect food and you have like rations. So if you're fighting in a village, you can like kind of take a break and then look for food, not take a break, but run away. Look for food that, like, they have cooking pots. They have all these other little things you can run to and kind of refill your health. Or you could do that before the battle, get rations, and then you have these this like chunk of food or whatever to heal you. And I like that more, that is based off of food, than than just this magical adrenaline bar that you fill up and then use chunks of it to heal you. I would rather have it be um, maybe you find like with animal skins you get like bandages and you have so many health kits or health packs or whatever, and so you patch up something. And I always wanted a game where if you get hit in the arm, then your arm's hurt. If you get hit in the shoulder, and then they patch up that specific that area, and maybe you can even see that on your character. And then for the next day or two, that bandage would be there, in game. And then after a while, you would during a cutscene or whatever, it would go off or whatever. But I don't know how you would do that, make that in the game. Maybe if you made the character sleep, and then after when he wakes up, there's like a little cutscene or whatever, and it refreshes your character back to like normal. That would be kind of interesting. But I always wanted a game where um, you're hurt. That's why I loved Ghost Recon Breakpoint, is because you can get hurt and start limping through the mission, and you can say, no, screw this, I'm gonna do this. And then if you complete the mission, it feels so satisfying when you complete it. When you're injured or hurt or what have you, it just makes it feel so good, so good. I want games to be a little like more difficult, but in a fair way, and that's what I think this game does accomplish. I like that. um yeah, the food collection I talked about. And there's this other cool instance in the game where I'm trudging through the snow on my horse, and then I hear like brip, 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 brip. I'm like, what the hell? I'm looking around because normally you can hear like an elk or a deer. I don't know if I ran into an elk. I ran into a reindeer, and then just normal deer. And then this is the first time. And then you can see birds, you can hear them, and then like these aren't just like random sounds that are just being pumped in because they're actual creatures around you. So if you hear a bird, you can kind of look around and you'll be able to see the bird. In the instances that I've experienced anyway. But I heard like a little it sounded like birds chirping or like a bark, like little barks, like a small bark. And then all of a sudden I was moving through the snow, and all of a sudden, like out of the snow, 4 small like white foxes kind of popped up and then took off and ran away. And I'm like, these white foxes are, I don't know if they were using the snow as concealment, as cover, or if there were just in the game, if like the game glitched, and when the foxes aren't standing, they're sitting, they're just in snow. I don't know what it was, but it was a really cool effect regardless. I was thinking about it. I was like, did the developers make the foxes hide in the snow, and then if you get near them, pop up out of nowhere and run off? Like, did they do that on purpose? Because I've seen the deer lay down, they bed themselves in the ground. Sometimes you come up on deer and they're just sitting there, they're just laying down, relaxing. And that I kind of like, because if you want to shoot them in their vital organs to get, if you want to kill them in one shot, you have to go to one side because they're lying down on one side. You can't get them because basically their spine is on behind them, and that's not going to instantly kill them. So you have to go around to their stump, like their side, that side that's exposed, and try to get them from there. And then the hidden blade. So the hidden blade in past games has always been on your front of your forearm, and then the assassins would cut off their ring finger as a sign of like dedication or whatever. And so when the blade would come out, it would come out in that spot where your finger used to be. And so this Viking gets it. He's gifted this. One of your basically your stepbrother or your adopted brother goes off in the far land, meets the assassins, and then brings 2 of them back and learns about their ways. And he's telling you about it. And then their hidden blade, which is like a sacred weapon for the assassins, he gives to your character. And Eivor. So Eivor takes the thing. He doesn't know what to do. It's a really cool, like Viking, like ruffian type part of the story where he puts it on the back of his forearm. So the blade comes out on the back of his hand, and the assassins go, no, it's supposed to be a hidden blade. Their enemies are not supposed to know it's there. It goes on the inner forearm. You can hide it better. And Eivor goes, he's like, my enemies are the enemies I know, or the enemies I encounter, already know I have weapons, and I'm not willing to make the sacrifice that you did. And he like mentions their finger, and then the assassin looks at his finger and goes, "Ah, that's fair." And then what? There's two assassins. One is a younger assassin, and he's not okay with Ivor having the blade because you have to earn it. And then the older one, who kind of runs things, is like, look, that's not our biggest issue here. So they have some other kind of ulterior. They're trying to befriend the Vikings to help them get rid of the Templars in that area, and they understand that they need these people. And so it doesn't matter. This little assassin's blade isn't that big of a deal. And he's like, you have to remember, and the student's like, okay. What I don't like about the game is in Origins, I believe in Origins and Odyssey, you can become unarmed and fight with just your fists, and you can do that by because you could switch between two weapons. So, say if you have a sword and a spear, you can switch. But if you unequip, say the spear, you just have your sword, and then if you switch weapons, it goes to your fist. So if you accidentally anger civilians, like in how I think of it, I don't want to kill the civilians. I just want to knock them out. I just want to get rid of them. So when I'm fighting a soldier or someone who starts a fight with me, and then that fight spills into, the like an area where civilians are, and I accidentally hit a civilian, then all of a sudden those civilians will attack me. And so if I attack one civilian, then the kind of a group of civilians around me are like, hey, that asshole hit a civilian. Not real, they're not going to think like real people, like, well, that guy got in the way, those two guys are fighting, let's just get this guy and get him out of here. Which would be cool if that happened in a video game, but that's a whole other AI system that they would have to write. But it's really cool. The way that I prefer to play is to knock those, like take care of the soldier, and then if the civilians start surrounding me, switch over to my fist and kind of knock them out, and then do a dealing damage to a killing blow to the soldier. There's just that little thing in the game. At least I know you can unequip a weapon, but when you have to go into a menu to do it, and I would like there to be a way for me to just not use my axes. And then there's another thing, that axes are they highlight what it's like to be a Viking so much that I don't want to switch to a sword or a spear. I don't want to be a Viking and carry a spear. I want to have axes. So I'm like, to me, it's like limiting the character that they choose to pick you to be. It's like same thing with like Spartans. They use mostly spears. So when I first started playing the game, I would want to use the spear, and I'm like, well, what other, like Spartans do use swords, so I use a sword, but then they have other weapons where it's like two small blades, and I'm like, a Spartan wouldn't use that. At least I don't think, anyway. My very limited knowledge of that history. NPCs are eating, but oh yeah. So like this is a funny little thing, and then I'll wrap it up. You're in this like dining room hall, and you're talking to different people in the dining room hall, and their hands are acting like they have food in them, and they're tearing pieces off their food and putting it in their mouth, but there's no food in their hands. They're eating air. And then so I obviously thought of the movie Hook, where all the Lost Boys are pretending to eat. I mean, there's food on the table, there's food everywhere, but there's no food in their hands. So it's this weird animation where they're talking to you, having a conversation, and they're tearing off pieces of air and throwing it in their mouths. And I'm like, can we just get a little piece of bread? I don't know if it got overlooked or if it was a glitch. I'm not too sure, but I found that pretty funny. I was like, that just looks awkward. But yeah, so overall the story, I like the story so far. I like the sailing from, kind of city to city or country to country. I just got to England. It kind of opened up. I'm learning about alliances. I'm doing all these different things. So in the next week's podcast, I'll end the podcast with that. I hope you guys liked it. Hope you guys liked this week's podcast. Like I said, you can follow me on YouTube. Chase Carter. I play NBA 2K games over there. NBA 2K20, not 2K21. I refuse to support them. I don't think they did a really good job with the next gen. And then the small park that they have always has lag on it. And then they create an even bigger park and they're expecting it to not have lag. And I'm not playing a game. I'm not spending $70 on a game that's going to still not fix the connection issues with that game. I've played shooters online that don't have lag, that have way more stuff going on than just a basketball game. So I don't want to hear excuses, especially a 3-on-3. It's not even a full 5-on-5 game. 3-on-3s have lag. 1-on-1s have lag. So what's the issue here? You're one of the top selling games every single year, and you still can't fix your server issues. I refuse to believe. I refuse to believe you can't fix it. So I just play my career over and over. And this year I wanted to play my career for a long time. So I might even skip next year's 2K and just play 2K20 and figure out what happens at year 10, year 15 of a person's NBA career. Who knows what I'm going to do? I don't know, but I definitely don't need to play the new one. So that's the podcast. Hope you guys liked it. I have that. So I have on Mondays, it's a 2K video drops on my YouTube channel. Chase Carter, you can just look it up. And then Tuesdays, we have video games and nonsense with Chase and Raymond. That's Tuesdays. Wednesdays is another 2K video. And Thursdays is my Chase Carter Concept podcast. Hope you guys like it. I stream on Twitch. My gamer tags I say as I like. If you want to follow me there, you can. And if you don't want to follow me, that's fine. That's fine. I don't care, but I need more than one view. I don't understand where this one view comes from. Whenever I stream, I have one view. I think it's like a bot to make that Twitch releases to that gives you a view. Cause like it's always one person and they never really interact. And then when a friend of mine just randomly jumps in, it never says two people viewing it. So I'm wondering, where does that one viewer come from? And and they pop in at different points. So I'm thinking maybe because I'm logged into the dashboard, that counts that as view, but I don't think so because it's not right away. Sometimes the one viewer will pop in 20 minutes in or 10 minutes in, just different points of time. I don't know. I'm confused. We're all confused. But that's this week's episode. Hope you enjoyed it. Let me know if you liked it. If you didn't like it, let me know. Leave comments and all that stuff. I appreciate the few views that I get. It's kind of interesting to see them go up to like 20 listens or views or whatever. Then some weeks it's a fat 5. And I'm wondering who's listening, why. So any kind of feedback would be good. I don't even know. Maybe I should just shut up and end the podcast. All right. You guys take it easy. Easy on you. You got this shit knocking, bro.